the 2025 award-winning girls golf coaches and the 2026 award-winning boys golf coaches, along with the induction of our 2026 Hall of Fame class. I am Debbie Williams-Hoke, and I'm very honored to be the Executive Director of the MIGCA and to welcome all of you here tonight. This is such a special night, and many people have contributed to making tonight memorable. I'd first like to introduce you to our MIGCA Board of Directors. They're a wonderful group who are so committed to high school golf and to all the coaches in the state. So please, when I call your name, please stand up. Our President, Dan Cooper from Troy, Athens. Our President-elect, Scott Carmona from Bloomfield Hills, Rover. Our past President, Bob Filter from East Lansing. Our Secretary, Mark Posey from Big Rapids. Our Treasurer, Andy Greil from Grand Rapids Catholic Central, one of the people up front. Our Special Events Chairman and the person responsible for putting this all together, Maggie Edison from last year East Grand Rapids, but now Forest Hills Northern. Our Public Relations Director, Ray Hill from East Jackson. Our Academic Chairman, Hugh Felt from Milford. And our Membership Chairman in the back, Kim Naporowski from Grand Rapids. To the founding five of the MIGCA, who you will hear a lot more about very soon, thank you for your passion for high school golf and your vision for creating the MIGCA. Next, I would like to say welcome and thank you to all of our Hall of Fame members who are here tonight. You are responsible for the success of the MIGCA and for paving the way for all of the current coaches. You have inspired us and provided us with a recipe for success when it comes to creating lifelong wonderful memories for our student athletes. To the award winners receiving recognition tonight, congratulations and thank you so much for being here. We are grateful to be able to celebrate your successes and have you share them with your families, your team, your school, and your community. Also, thank you to the family members and friends of the award winners that are here. Your support means more than you know. To our additional MIGCA coaches and their families here tonight, another big thank you, as your presence here shows your desire to support and congratulate your fellow coaches who share your passion for high school golf. Please know that every coach being recognized here tonight is extremely grateful that you are here. As you know, tonight is special. We have tried to go above and beyond and could not have done this without the help of some wonderful sponsors. We are so grateful to you, and I would like to recognize our sponsors, some of who are here with us tonight. First of all, our title sponsor, Mr. Mark Ewell, Cole Malatinsky from the MHSAA. Thank you. The MIGCA is so grateful for the relationship that we have. To our Albatross Plus sponsor, the Traverse City Junior Golf Association and Executive Director Golf Coach Todd Hersey. Todd and the TC Junior Golf Association also made a donation in honor of each Hall of Fame member that is on their staff. Those Hall of Fame members are Paul Martin, Steve Burke, Mark Posey, Lois McManus, Jim Horniak, Bob Lober, and Todd Hersey. We have another Albatross sponsor, the GAM, Chris Witten and Laura Bavard. Our Eagle sponsors, the LPGA Midwest section, the Michigan PGA section with Kevin Helm, the Meyer Callaway Tour with Raleigh Freisinger, and Janina Jacobs. Our Birdie sponsors, the MHSCA, Michigan High School Coaches Association, Jim Oakler, the Michigan Women's Golf Association, Executive Board Member Francine Pegues, who's here, the Michigan Golfer, Tom Lang, the Kensington Junior Golf Tour, Ben Bachman and Chad Elledge, the Michigan Independent Athletic Conference, the Catholic High School League, and the Oakland Activities Conference. We have some in-kind sponsors as well, Levelware and Chris Sullivan, and the Golf Project and Tyler Moss. Thank you to all of you. Okay, so let's get to some celebrating of 50 years. I'd like to introduce you to Mr. Bob Glover, who will take it from here.
Thank you, Debbie, and thank you, excuse me, thank you to all of you being here tonight. You know, a couple years ago, Debbie and I were talking about what can we do for our 50th year of the MIGCA. And one of my goals at that time, being chair of the Hall of Fame, is to make sure we had at least 50 of our Hall of Fame members here. And we have 51 of them here. But the MIGC is more about all of our coaches for the last 50 years. And I would like to have three other gentlemen come up here and join me. One of our founding members who started coaching in the early 70s at Lake Orion High School, Gary Newcomb. Come on up, Gary. Dave Hutton from Granville. Dave was our, Dave was the very first coach of the year in 1976. Awesome to have him here. And a two-time president of our association, the only two-time president of our association. And then Mark Posey. Mark, current coach from Big Rapids. And you'll hear some more from each of these gentlemen. And I got this note just a few days ago from Tom Johnson at Gaylord High School. Tom was inducted 2 years ago into our Hall of Fame. And Tom said, I want you to know that not being able to be at the MIGCA Hall of Fame banquet and celebration breaks my heart. To be part of this organization has and still is an honor I cherish. I thought of trying to go to the banquet the day I was having chemo, which was today, and most likely it wouldn't be a really good thing to be doing. I would like to congratulate all the coaches, all the awards they're getting, our new inductees. And the most important thing is enjoy the time spent together tonight and make some great memories. And that's what tonight's all about, making great memories and sharing this time together. And you know, back in 1997, Gary was inducted into our Hall of Fame. And I looked up his application from 1997. And Gary said, what I enjoy most about the MIGCA is the growth of the organization, as well as the many friendships I have made over the years. That's the MIGCA. What Tom Johnson said, what Gary says, and what a lot of you say too. There's so many great memories we have. And Gary, I would like you to share some of those.
Thank you, Bob. Got to determine whether I need glasses or not here. Looks like I do. I need one correction here. My name's actually Roger Fuller from Coldwater. And I can't remember if it's Saline or Coldwater, quite frankly, but I'm glad you read your program. If you didn't, it wouldn't have made any sense. I was one of the founders of the MIGCA. I'm the youngest founder by a few months over another founder. But Bill Ray of Bloomfield Hills Lasser, who we're going to meet a little later in the program, said to our link of West Bloomfield at the Plymouth Best Ball tournament that we need a golf coaches association. Bill Ray was already the swim coach at Lasser and the vice president of the swim coaches. And so Art said, okay, I'll grab a couple guys and we'll see how it works. So the 5 of us started. We met at Ted's Restaurant in Bloomfield Hills, decided who would be officers and who wouldn't. That's not really true, I guess. So Bill was obviously going to be our president. Art Link was president-elect. Our 2 other founders out of the 5 who are not here this evening, John Findukian of Wall Lake Western, passed away in 2022. And Jim Koreski from Milford passed away in 2020. So they're not with us here, but I do want to tell you how they were instrumental in getting us started. So we decided who was going to be what. So Art was president-elect, and Koreski didn't want to be an officer. And we said, okay, you be past president. So, and John was kind of our Michigan delegate, you might say. And that's kind of how it all started. Our focus in the beginning in 1976 was to have a spring clinic and a fall awards banquet. And we set out to do that, and we were actually, we were flying by the seat of our pants. We were young. I was the youngest at 29, Koreski was the oldest at 39. And we had a few years coaching, maybe 5 to 10, but other than that, running an organization, Bill Ray really gave us everything we really needed. So we went up to Michigan State in the spring, and Bruce Fossum, the golf coach at State, helped us out getting started. In the fall, we were always probably back at Michigan State, Pretzelbell or something, with our first awards banquet, which was 6 players. I think we had 36 people there, 6 boys, I may add. And then, you can look at the records after that. I don't need to really tell you when we started this or started that, because you go to MHSAA and look at the records, or you go to MIGCA's website and look, you can see when things started. And it took off far superior than I ever imagined. I mean, we had all kinds of, I know our girls teams started in about 83 maybe. No, it must have been before that, 79 or 80. We had girls all-state, we had boys all-state, we had an academic all-state, then we had a Miss and Mr. Golf. So a lot of things blossomed, and a lot of you were there on that opening year, probably. Maybe not in person, but you certainly were one of our members. So that's how it started. Talk about, I kind of forgot Art back there, and I need to talk a little bit about Art, because when Bill had to step aside because of taking another teaching assignment, Art was the guy that really was our leader. And he knew how to coach, he knew how to teach, he knew how to organize, and he got us moving in the right direction. And and I was for me to be a mentor of his has been great all these years. And we're best of friends, our wives are great friends. Here we are 55 years later, still talking to each other, actually sitting next to each other at the same table. So a lot of good friendships have come out of this. I'm a little rusty probably speaking, so I apologize if I didn't get things exactly right, but I'm very honored to be asked to speak tonight. You're going to hear me more, which I'm not real happy about, but I was asked, and I will hopefully give a good message. So thanks so much for being here.
I guess the theme that we can't forget as coaches, we look back on the 50 years, the years prior to this organization, was the wonderful job that we have all done creating opportunity for our athletes. We look back, and when I began coaching in 1969, 1970 season, basically took over for a guy that quit because he got a better job as the fishing coach for the club at the high school, paid more for, I guess. We took that time, took kids that just basically were beginning the game and turned them into athletes, taught them sportsmanship, taught them integrity, taught them how to play well. So many of our members out there, many of them, I don't want to forget someone, but I must mention some names, had created golf tournaments for us to take our kids to. Yvonne, the wonderful times we had at East Lansing. Bob, 3-4 days up at Traverse City. Art Link with his tournaments, the Kalamazoo areas had their events. And as the years go by, I hardly find a time that I'm not around someplace when a young man comes to me and says, boy, those were the best years of my life. Playing golf in the fall. Sorry, I have to say that. In the fall. 15 days before school play started, and we got together and had an opportunity to perform in a sport that before those days didn't really get a lot of limelight. So in the future, the one message that I do leave with you, all the young coaches in the room, those of us who have had a few years of experience, it's for the kids. Their chance to play, their chance to get good at the game, their chance to pass it on eventually to their children, grandchildren. That's what it's all about. We've taken a great sport. We have many, many kids that have now gone on to get an education, paid for in many cases. Wonderful game. Who would have ever dreamed, as I pass on and sit and talk about what we've seen now, that those 220-yard drives now have become 330, 340-yard drives. I couldn't coach anymore because I wouldn't know where to stand. I let it go over my head, I watch on the tee because I can't see it there. If you go out there and stand, maybe you'll just might hear it as it comes by. What a wonderful opportunity we're giving the kids. 2 thumbs up for that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Gary, David. I'd like to ask any of our past presidents that are here tonight, would you please stand up? Come on, past presidents, come on, come on, come on, Art, come on, Jim, come on. And of course, there's been hundreds and hundreds of our board of directors people that have been part of the MIGCA. Back when Gary was talking, or when Gary was talking about those founding, fathers, founding 5, and how they got it started. And then year after year, the elections we had, and the board of directors, and the presidents, the past presidents, and I know how special it has been. Our executive directors started back in the mid-90s. Dan Campo, who was a coach at Essexville Garber, was our first executive director. And then Dan moved down south. I was executive director for a few years, and Greg Kirchen, where's Greg? Greg, stand up over there. Greg was one of our executive directors. Leon Braystead was executive director, of course. Debbie Williams, now being our executive director, is really doing an incredible job. Also, how many of you in this room were coaching, I know these guys back here, were coaching in 1976? Who was coaching? Stand up. You guys, the guys now, stand up. Stand up. There you go. Now, 50 years ago. They were coaching. That's incredible. The other day I was looking on the MHSAA's website. I was just curious. When was the first boys state championship in the state of Michigan? 100 years ago in 1926 was the first boys state championship. And I'm going like, whoa. How many of you coached back here? The first girls' state championship, 1973, and I know somebody who was a coach then that'll be up here a little bit later, from Bloomfield Hills, Foster. Anyway, first year of the MIGCA, 1976. Of course, I mentioned Dave. Dave's name is our first coach of the year. There was Granville, Okemos, Kalamazoo, Hackett, and Battle Creek, St. Phillips were the state championship teams for the boys back then. The girls started playing 18 holes, and Clarkston won the very first girls 18-hole championship. And this was, I didn't write the name, 1980. They had 4 girls shoot in the low 80s. They shot 340. And that was in the 80s. Now, I have to tell you, I started coaching girls golf back in the early 90s. And boy, I tell you, if you could shoot 340, I don't know anybody that shot 340 back then. There were a few teams around. But that's incredible. So just a little trivia for you, but don't forget that 100 years ago, this fall, was the first state championship in 1926. You know, when I started coaching in the early 80s and became a member of the MIGCA 43 years ago, some of my idol coaches were Art Link, Jim Rademacher, Dave Hutton, and I watched those people, and I said, oh man, be like them. So Jim Rademacher, who had won several state championships, I coached, new coach in golf. I was coaching other sports, a new coach. So I went to Jim, I said, Jim, what do you do for your practice sessions with your kids? You know, what do you do? And, you know, you always want to know that as a coach. What do you do? He said, well, I just send them over to Oakland Hills to their pros. He said, I just tell them, make sure you're in the van on Thursday when we have the lead to go play. I'll have to remember that. Anyway, no, just an incredible thing. The incredible clinics we had. I mean, down in Lansing in the spring, the number of coaches that were there at the time, all the clinics we had, Mishaway, Shanty Creek. We had 287 coaches at Shanty Creek one year in the spring. 287. We had 2 golf courses full, and we had another golf course that took the first, but we had just incredible clinic sessions. And almost 300 coaches were part of that, and that was great. We started the winter clinics in the early 90s at the Amway Grand in Grand Rapids. And then, thanks to Pete Hammer and starting our Hall of Fame in 1992, we used some beautiful ballrooms at the Amway Grand. And if you've been there in the old park, there's some beautiful ballrooms, and that's where we had our Coach of the Year and our Hall of Fame inductions. And we'd have 100 and some coaches. I remember Tammy, and I remember Kim, from Grand Kim, Nat Brosky. They came to one of the clinics down there the first year they started coaching, and it was in February. And they came in there, they were like deer in headlights coming in there. They hadn't coached before, you know. And here Kim is one of the most successful coaches we've had in girls golf and boys golf in the state of Michigan. So to see that growth over all those years was so special to me. And how about Bud Light Bob Erschlitz? Oh man, you were at clinics with Bud Light Bob. I mean, he would turn this inside out in this place right here. I mean, it didn't make any difference how many people. Bud Light Bob Erschlitz from Concord, man, I'll tell you, there are so many great memories. Working with the MHSAA, and I'm going to have Suzanne Martin stand up back there. Suzanne, come on, stand up for me. Suzanne Martin. Suzanne was our boys and girls golf rep at the MHSA from 1978 to 2003. 25 years. She handled golf. You saw the evolution of a lot of stuff going on during those 25 years, and she was very instrumental in making sure some of those things got done. Our golf coaches going to the MHSA and bringing some ideas and changes, And I know Mark will talk about some of those changes over the last 10, 12 years too. But so many things happen thanks to the MHSA and what the sport they have, and well, the sport they have towards golf. You know, we changed the 2 rounds of the state finals. We did so many all-state selections. We had over 700 people in the Big Ten ballroom at Michigan State for our all-state banquet one time. And that's when we decided, this place isn't big enough. Have you ever been in the ballroom or the Big Ten room? Okay, it's not quite as wide as this, but it's about 3 times as long. So we had people sitting down there about 40 yards, sitting down here having a good wind shot. We had so many people. And we had to decide, okay, how do we move forward with all this? And our board continues to do that, and honoring those kids and making sure. And of course, to me, those friendships that we've created together, as Gary has said, Dave has said, are the most important thing. Those are the special things that'll never go away, and the friendships that we have because of the MIGCA and the game of golf, because of the game of golf. And this one, before I turn it over to Mark, is never believe you're just a teacher or coach. You are a life changer and very well might be the reason one child succeeds. Don't ever forget that. As coaches, as teachers, if you touch one kid and they succeed the rest of their life, that's what it's all about. And that's what our coaches do in the game of golf. Thank you.
When Bob asked me to do this, he told me I had 35 seconds. So for those of you that know me, I can sometimes get a little long-winded. We will go with the theme today of, for the last 10 years, the relationships again. You've heard this time and time again. As a young coach in the early 2000s, those relationships with those coaches that would take you under your wings. They'd teach you so many things like Bob talked about in, how to run practice and, how to be a good coach with the kids, how to listen to the kids, how to make it challenging, how to travel. Just so much experience, from the coaches of, that generation moving forward. And, I look at those coaches in today and how much they have learned from the coaches in the last 10, 15 years, that thought, that mentorship is, has been passed on. And, I've been so thankful to have so many coaches, that take the time to, to do that. So, in fact, the last 50 years, they've done a great job of developing those players and those coaches, and making sure that, everyone feels important as a coach, that it's not a clique organization, that everybody is important. I will also add the valuable partnership in our last 10, 15 years with the MHSAA. In the last 10 years, we've seen a 25% growth in the boys' numbers and the girls'. The boys in the last 10 years have gone up over 1,600 players a season, and the girls are just at about 1,000 extra players in the last 10 years. In the last 10 years, the MHSAA and the MIGCA have been there to handle a 2019 USGA rules change and get that out to coaches. They've navigated a max 12, a max 10 rule, distance finding devices, emergency action plans, lots of committees with the MHSAA. Had to weather the storm a little bit with a little COVID, with the loss of a boys season in 2020 and a reduction of the girls' state finals to 18 holes. But through all of that, we've seen high school golf, not only turn out some really good individuals, but some really good coaches that are there to take, that torch on to the next generation. They continue to introduce our coaches, introduce more players to the game. They develop them with the right mindset. with values like sportsmanship, being honest, having integrity in today's world, a respect for the game, a respect for their teammates and competitors, a respect for the courses. And these are values that I think, our coaches go out of their way, when so much time is spent on how to grip a club and swing. They make sure that they include these things in every part of their instruction. And I will add with what Bob had to say in the last 10 years, we've been to Grand Traverse, we've been to Treetops, we've been over to Eagle Eye, we've been to Oak Point, Tullymore, Polecat, and now here. We've done a great job of celebrating coaches, honoring coaches, and just making sure in our clinics that we continue to do a great job of educating them. And so the MIGCA will continue to be at the forefront, of this game to help develop those coaches and also the next generation of those players. So we've got a great future to look ahead, and hopefully a lot of us will be around in the next few years too to continue to celebrate it. So, Bob, final words?
Thank you. There's so many great stories. So many great stories that every time we get together, we talk and we share those stories. Whether it's girls golf, boys golf, coaches clinics, or whatever. And that's what tonight's all about. I hope you enjoyed hearing these gentlemen talk about the MIGCA in the first 50 years. And so some of you younger coaches that might be here in 50 years, remember some of these things and take them with you. And as we always do when we start our banquets, we just take a few minutes and we bow our heads and say a prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day. We thank you for the 50 years of the MIGCA, for all the great coaches, all the kids that have played the game in the state of Michigan, for our school systems that allow us to coach, for the administration that supports what we do, for all those parents that come along and are supporting the kids that play our game. And as we remember the last 50 years, let us be mindful of you, watching out over us and keeping us safe as we travel to golf courses, as we travel home tonight, and just be with us each day of our lives. Please allow this food we're about to receive to nourish our bodies, our mind, and give us the strength to do your work in this world. Thank you, amen. So we'll turn it over to the servers and point us to where we gotta go to get some food, okay? You ready to go? Good. Thank you very